If you grill it, he will come.
Hey.
Hey.
Is this heaven?
Nope. It's fairway.
Chris Hassel, Andrew Downs. It's time for Instant Iowa. Immediate analysis and reaction presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Well, it is officially Sunday on the East Coast where I'm at, wrapping up a miserable. I'm sorry, I'm so out of it that it's actually just Saturday because that was a Friday game, wasn't it? I'm not 2 days ahead. I'm just
Oh, that's
one.
right. Yeah.
Welcome to Instant Iowa. It is late here on the East Coast, and Iowa playing the way they did makes it feel even worse. Hawkeyes lose to UCLA 20-17. As the defense performs a lot like they did against Michigan State. Brennan Sullivan gets knocked out of the game, and the Hawkeyes lose once again for the fourth time this season. Instant Iowa presented by Fairway. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. Chris Hassel, Andrew Downs. I don't know. I guess this team is just a Kinnick Stadium team now because on the road, whether it's Michigan State, Ohio State, or UCLA, Iowa is shit.
Yeah, their defense does not travel. Their line play does not. How bad is Wisconsin's line on both sides of the ball? If Iowa did to them what they did last week and then got done to them what happened tonight in LA, man, just an incredibly inconsistent team, and we've known that all season. And every time it's kind of felt like they've gotten over the hump, like it did in these last couple of games against Northwestern and Wisconsin. You hit a game like this, and I mean, Chris, you could tell pretty quickly. I guess the first quarter, maybe not, but in that second quarter, it really started to feel like that Michigan State game. The way this defense was unable to tackle, to wrap up, the way the defensive line was unable to stop the running game, the worst running game in the Big Ten coming into this game, and the way Caleb Johnson wasn't able to find any room. No holes opened up, and no legitimate threat to back a defense off. So it's more of what we've seen all season long, but when it all comes together like this, it's just incredibly frustrating.
Not just the worst run game in the Big Ten, the worst run game in the country coming in was UCLA, and they go out and they run all over Iowa.
I could have done without
in
knowing that. I could have done without knowing that.
211 yards. They were averaging about 74, I believe, per game. Coming into this one, they go for 211. Iowa held to 80 yards on the ground. Complete disaster, really, after the start of this game. Yeah. And I go back to the second drive of the game for Iowa, where they get the pick in the end zone. They're up 7-0. Sullivan hits Gill, long play, 59 yards, biggest play of the year. You've got them on their heels. Iowa was lights out in the red zone going into that possession. They were 15 for 15 scoring with 14 touchdowns. 15 drives with Brendan Sullivan in the red zone, 14 touchdowns. But on that drive, held to a field goal. It was 10-0, and then everything changed in the second quarter. And Iowa, it never really felt...
No.
After, late in that first half that Iowa was going to win this game. UCLA was able to run on Iowa. They were able to stop Iowa's run. And if Iowa can't stop the run and can't run themselves, what is Iowa, AD?
They're a bad football team is what they are if they can't do those things. And that's what we saw. And really, Chris, halfway through that second quarter or so, when their offense was doing to us what they did most of the game, which was, running straight at the line and picking up 7 yards a chunk and then finding wide open guys, converting third downs. At one point, they were 8 of 12. They converted that last one, so maybe 9 of 13 on third down. I don't have that right in front of me, but it was a bad night for third down defense. And you looked back halfway through that second quarter and you realized, man, you had an interception in the end zone. You had a fumble in the end zone. this game should have been much more lopsided early than it was. Iowa was lucky to be up 10-0, let alone tied at 10 at one point, and it just never came together. You thought maybe some halftime adjustments would get things going, but then you come out, you go 3 and out. I don't know if that's when Brendan Sullivan was injured, but he got rocked on that third down play where he should have just stepped out of bounds.
He got hit a bunch of times, really hard. First quarter, second quarter,
It was
third
the first
quarter.
time we've seen him make some really bad decisions. The interception, especially that second one, was just an ill-advised throw. You don't make that throw.
Yeah.
It was like the Cade McNamara pick six we saw against Northwestern that ultimately ended his time as a starter, or at least until now, because we'll see what happens moving forward. If you're looking for a glass half empty, Jackson Stratton came in and played okay. It was nice to see a guy come in.
He was slinging it. He did what he could.
He was, and but I mean, Caleb Johnson just never got going. 18 attempts, 49 yards, had that one touchdown. Probably should have had 2 touchdowns, but just couldn't do anything. Iowa got dominated. Luke Fickell said it after the game last weekend in Iowa City. You got manhandled, you got dominated, and that's what happened to Iowa tonight in UCLA.
They deserved to lose this game.
Did.
UCLA out-physicaled Iowa, both lines of scrimmage, out-game-planned Iowa. Eric Bieniemy was a better coordinator than Phil Parker in this game, and UCLA ends up on top 20-17. You know what sounds good right now? $2 beers and $3 Fireball drinks from the Iowa Wild. November 15th is Hockey Fights Cancer Night, as the Iowa Wild hosts the Texas Stars, 7 p.m., Wells Fargo Arena, benefiting Cops Against Cancer, striving to provide financial assistance to cancer patients and their families experiencing the overwhelming and unexpected expenses of cancer treatment. $2 for beer, $3 for Fireball. Night dedicated to those battling cancer and those who have lost loved ones to cancer. I'll raise a glass to that. I've got an old-fashioned here tonight. I didn't know whether or not
Jameson.
with this late night AD to brew some coffee or make an old-fashioned. I decided to do the old-fashioned and go with the depressant.
I got those game day tee shots running through me, man. I don't need
you feeling good?
Afternoon caffeine anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want to run a couple stats by you because.
Oh yeah, can't wait for this.
So the last time Iowa played in the Rose Bowl, we know what happened. It was the Christian McCaffrey game. It was Stanford 45, Iowa 16, and it really wasn't that close. I just want to compare the box score from that game to this game. Stanford had 429 total yards. UCLA, 415. Stanford, with Christian McCaffrey running the football, 206 rushing yards. UCLA, 211. That's how bad Iowa got manhandled tonight by that UCLA offense. And Jay Higgins went out, did not play the second half. That clearly was a factor.
Mm-hmm.
But when Jay Higgins was in the game and healthy, there was no difference.
That's the thing. Losing him certainly hurt, but they weren't good when he was out there. They were beat in all phases. They were being run over. Deshaun Lee got punked on one of those runs, just knocked right over. I mean,
tackling was horrible, AD.
Jamari Harris, who's the best D-back on the team, got beat on that third down, which, I mean, you're not going to probably go down and score the game-winning touchdown, but at least you give yourself an opportunity. It's just disappointing on all
Castro
all phases.
got beat on a goal to go.
Reese
early
Dakin
on
had a couple of terrible punts at terrible
kicks.
times.
Yeah.
Drew Stevens had that great kick, and honestly, I'm glad it ended up not being true, but there was a part of me, and I was only half kidding when I was like, do you take the field goal off the board here?
I was with you on that. It ended up being the right call.
It did.
But
and that tells you how
I
bad
actually
things were.
thought Ferentz might take the field goal because Stratton
Yeah.
was in the game, use that momentum, and then try to get a defensive stop. But he knew even then you still had to score a touchdown to win that game. And I don't know. If you're going to put it, AD, on one unit, one guy, if you want, who would it be?
Well, unit, it'd be the defense, certainly.
Same. And to me, it's the same thing in the Michigan State game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, even though Cade was bad, it was the defense that lost them that game. It was the defense that lost this game.
Late in the game, when Iowa tied the game, all you need is a stop. You need one stop.
Yeah. Hey, you have the momentum.
You can't do it. You can't get off the field on third down. Not only just not get off the field,
God.
I mean, giving up big plays on third down after third down.
They were 6 for 8 on third downs in the first half.
It's incredible.
This is not a juggernaut UCLA offense.
They were 9 of 14 for the game. 9 of 14 on third down. It's fitting that the Wild are sponsoring this because the defense was checking guys. They weren't tackling. Man, they were going for those high hits. Same thing we saw against Michigan State, not wrapping up, and guys just bounce off those.
To me, that screams either we're on our toes, we're tired, like you're just going to throw your body into somebody and hope that they fall down. Wrap the fuck up. I mean, Iowa knows how to do that. That they've built a program on that for the last 20 years. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing. That's why you give a 4 or 5 yard cushion on everything. Mm-hmm. That's the bend but don't break. It's because you stop everything in front of you. It's so frustrating. And that, again, we're going to sound the same as we did after Michigan State, or at least I am, because it's just so goddamn frustrating to sit there. You need a stop. That's all you need. Just a stop. It's already 3rd and 8. You've already done the hard work. Just get a stop. And they can't get a fucking stop. And you just sit there screaming at your TV. You want to pull your hair out. It's disgusting. It's so bad. And it just doesn't make sense to me why this is only on the road that this happens. I mean, this defense has been great at home. And Northwestern and Wisconsin aren't great, but neither is UCLA or Michigan State. Chris, they've forced one punt in 2 games. One punt in 2 road games. That's absolutely ridiculous for any team, let alone the vaunted Hawkeye defense that's supposed to keep us in every game.
I want to thank another one of our sponsors, the Full Court Press family of restaurants and bars. It's late, really late for an Iowa football game, but you know what's still open? Fongs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They're open till 2 a.m. I was scrolling through Twitter. It sounds like Sound Off with Travis Justice is going to be on until like 2 a.m. local time, so you can drive down there, get a piece of pizza, listen to Sound Off a little bit later.
He's producing the show. He's screening calls. I think he's in charge of the tower up there in Alleman to make sure that the station stays on the air.
And he's in like Georgia. He's like in a hotel room in Georgia doing something. Good luck, Travis. We'll be listening after this. But Full Court Press, family of restaurants and bars. It's not just Fongs. I mean, there's tens of great places.
Yeah,
the draft beer you can get at El Bait Shop, 260 on tap. Iowa Tap Room, 120 Iowa beers on tap. And the best bar food, High Life Lounge. That's the last time I got a tenderloin that was the size of a huge dinner plate.
Oh, man.
Was at the High Life Lounge. The tenderloin that is, the bun is just a regular size fast food bun. And they
don't have those down there in Southern Florida?
No, that is an Iowa thing. So our thanks to the Full Court Press family of bars and restaurants. Let's hit Brendan Sullivan. He was
UCLA did all night.
Oh, God, yeah, that's a good point. He was really good to start the game.
He was.
2 monstrous plays on the first 2 drives.
Aired it out. It was amazing.
30-plus-yarder and then almost a 60-yarder. And things are clicking. And then all of a sudden, he starts getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes some mistakes. He throws in an interception. Then, on a nice run play, I don't want him to slide.
Right.
Just go down. Go down. Just be smart about it. Go down, go out of bounds. He tries to stay up, gets the ball ripped out. And after that, I felt like there were voices in his head the whole time. Like, if there was an opening to run for a first down there was a 3rd and 5 around the 25-yard line of Iowa, and there was an opening to easily run for a first down and get out of bounds. He thought twice about it because I know what the coaches are telling him. You can't get injured.
Yes.
You've been hit already. You can't do that. And then he's like, okay, now I'll go. And then he goes and he gets his ass just fucking pounded
it's
on the
that
sideline.
indecision. You're exactly right. It's that indecision. It's that second thought.
And that was it for him. I think that was the last time we saw him out there. He finishes 6 for 9 for 157 yards, 2 interceptions, a lost fumble. He runs it 9 times for 10 yards. Obviously, the sacks factoring in there. And they pull him, and I don't know if it was for an injury from earlier in the game.
Yeah, much
or
like
if
the
it was just
McNamara
hits
thing,
to the
where,
head.
where there wasn't like a final blow that you were like, oh, that's why he went out. It was almost like it was
like a culminate, like a
exactly.
There were so many big hits. They were like, okay, maybe he's got something. He didn't have his helmet, and it was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be allowed back in the game.
This is a team. This is a team that needs a bye week, and it's good that it's coming.
Yeah.
This is a fan base that needs 15 days without watching this team, and you know, at least me. Yeah, this is a guy. You're talking to a guy who's. I'm glad we do this show. This is one of the things I've learned about myself is getting this out, talking about it. I had to do this another time this week. We won't go into that, but getting it out, talking about it, kind of immersing myself in it rather than avoiding it. Because my instinct is to be like, turn the TV off, go to bed, and then be pissed off all weekend.
I think that's what a lot of Iowa fans did tonight.
This helps me a little bit. But it's good that now I have a full weekend. We can watch football tomorrow. We don't have to worry about our team. Yeah, it'll piss us off, and then we get all week. And this Hawkeye team needs a break, man. They need some time. They need to regroup. You're going to Maryland. I mean, you didn't lose anything major tonight because there was nothing left to lose. But
yes,
you need to now go win these next 2 games. You need to take this bye. You need to figure out what the hell you're going to do at quarterback. I don't know what Brendan Sullivan's status will be. We're not watching the post game. We're not going to hear. I don't know that Kirk Ferentz will say anything definitive either way. We assume
give me a
Cade
guess
McNamara
right now.
will be back.
Cade McNamara is going to be cleared from concussion protocol probably this week. Who starts the Maryland game?
I think it's Brendan Sullivan.
Do you? I think it's going to be Cade.
Do you?
I think they're going to go back to Cade because Sullivan turned the ball over 3 times. He got banged up.
That's the thing. If they can use the Brendan Sullivan is banged up. Hey, he's been in concussion protocol for 10 days, and yeah, he's cleared, but he just got cleared on Thursday, and now it's Saturday at Maryland. I say Brendan Sullivan. That's more of a hope maybe than it is a certainty, and like even then I'm like 55%, like almost flip a coin, and really at this point the only reason I care is because Brendan Sullivan is the future, right? Or at least hopefully is the future, and so it's like give him as many reps, let him continue to build this chemistry that he obviously has with Jacob Gill. This is the best we've seen Brendan Sullivan throw a ball. Now he threw 2 picks, and again that second one was a terrible
59-yarder was beautiful. I mean,
it was beautiful.
Gill had his guy beat,
throw.
But that was as good of a throw. I don't know that I've seen anything like that since at least Nate Stanley.
Yeah, somebody showed the Nate Stanley to Noah Fant, this long bomb, and it was probably the prettiest long throw Iowa's had since then. Now, it was funny. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, Gill like almost didn't know what to do when he had the ball.
Yes.
He was like it felt like if he had just kept running, maybe he
ran to the sideline.
Yeah,
like, come on, catch it in stride and go to the fucking end zone.
Wait a minute, I caught it and 50 yards down the field? Like, what? So that was kind of funny. But no, he's obviously got a good chemistry with Jacob Gill. He was throwing the ball pretty well for the most part. Again, especially that second interception. The fumble's hard to put on him other than, like you said, get down. But that just got ripped out of his hand. I mean, just that was a great play by that defender. And so, you know, Sullivan, I hope we see Brendan Sullivan. But we did see why. One of the reasons why Cade McNamara started for as long as he did. He doesn't make that many mistakes like that. He turned the ball over against Ohio State, but generally he doesn't. He would take a sack rather than throw a pick. And And you see why that's such a big thing, because even though we're so disappointed and frustrated by how this Iowa team played, they lost by 3 points, right? Like they should have and could have and had many opportunities to win this game.
Could have still won that game.
And if you have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over 3 times, maybe you do. And so I understand the Kirk Ferentz kind of conservative play call or conservative decision making when it comes to quarterback. He wants the guy who's going to make the fewest mistakes. Because that's normally what beats you when you're an Iowa team like this. Now, again, this defense didn't help at all, but you don't turn the ball over 3 times, who knows what happens.
AD, it is time for our Hoodoo Doer of the game. I was talking with Scott Sipker, who's one of the co-owners of Hoodoo, and I'm extremely jealous that I don't have Hoodoo, because we have a lot of people in our neighborhood down here who they pay lots of money to have Christmas lights put up.
Oh, yeah. That's expensive if you do it professionally.
It's just, it's not worth it to me for the month and a half. It's just to have that professionally done is really expensive, and I don't know. It looks great, but I don't know if it's worth it. Hoodoo, though, you can get these guys, and you have a bunch of different avenues and options here. Scott said that Christmas lights is one of the things that you can bid for on Hoodoo, and you can either you can have your own lights ready to go and have somebody come put up your own lights. Hoodoo can bring the guy can bring his own lights, or gal can bring his own lights and put those up, and it's much cheaper than having it professionally done. You just go to heyhoodoo.com, heyhoodoo.com, HUDU, or just download the Hoodoo app. Christmas light installation, and many more things. If it's legal, Hoodoo will do it.
I'm thinking about having somebody from Hoodoo come and get the leaves out of my yard.
Out of your yard?
Well, it's just we the leaves pile up. I have these huge
you could
trees,
do that.
And I'm not about to go out there and do that back-breaking work myself.
That's not something that I can see Andrew doing. That's not something I can see Brent Bloom doing. He would have his wife do it. I'm going to go right off of the quarterback talk to my Hoodoo Doer of the game, and it's Jackson Stratton for me. I thought that he did a really good job in a very difficult circumstance. Like, Kirk Ferentz is out there telling anyone and everyone, I don't know who the hell this guy is, what he can do. I've got no idea. He goes in there. It was a 3rd and 20. He rushes for 16 yards to set up that field goal attempt that they make. Then they end up scoring a touchdown, had a couple of really nice throws on 3rd and longs where, nobody had any confidence in this guy. You know that Kirk Ferentz never would have let him throw the football if it wasn't absolutely needed on 3rd and long, and the guy came up with some big plays, and I would have loved to have seen him get the ball late if Iowa would have made a stop to try to go down there for a game-tying field goal or a game-winning touchdown. He finishes 3 for 6, 28 yards. He had the one run for 14 yards. He just went out there and he slung the ball. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job in relief of Brendan Sullivan to keep Iowa in that game. Was part of that drive that tied the game at 17.
Yeah, whether he's 4th string, 5th string.
I would say he's
scout
4th.
team linebacker.
They kept saying he was 5th on the broadcast, but Reeser went to wide receiver, right? I think
this is a guy
Stratton's
who
4th.
came into the program not expecting to play, got put in a tough situation, and ultimately played pretty well.
Yeah.
I think that's
did
a really
pretty good job. Yeah,
that's a really good one. My Hoodoo Doer is going to be Jacob Gill. He's clearly Iowa's best wide receiver. He's looked like that at times all season, but this was his kind of breakout game. 6 catches, 138 yards, and just some awful stats for Iowa, but good for Jacob Gill tonight. First Iowa player with 100 or more receiving yards in a game since Sam Laporta against Illinois in 2022. So more than 2 seasons. First Iowa wide receiver with 100-plus yards in a game since Charlie Jones. That's right. Charlie Jones, who didn't even finish his college career at Iowa and is now in the NFL. against Michigan State back in 2021. So it's been more than 3 full years since Iowa's had a wide receiver go for over 100 yards. Jacob Gill did that tonight. Again, didn't really know what to do when he caught the deep ball, but was just effective in all areas. Is Iowa's best receiver, I think. Built some chemistry with Brendan Sullivan, which is one of the reasons I hope he is the starter going forward. A couple of Northwestern guys there. So Jacob Gill is my hoodoo doer. A lot of people asking, can we hoodoo a quarterback? Can we hoodoo a defense?
If it's legal, you can do it.
Right.
Is it legal to buy a quarterback? It is. It's legal to buy a quarterback.
Yes.
They tried buying Cade McNamara. It didn't work. They got Sullivan a few bucks in the portal. I still think, even though he made those mistakes, I totally agree with you, AD. I think he should be the guy moving forward, even when Cade McNamara comes back.
Like how confident are you?
I'm saying moving forward this season. I don't know about next season. I don't know. That's going to be a big question this offseason. Are you going to move forward with Brendan Sullivan as the presumed starter? Or are you going to go out in the portal again and try to raise money from the swarm? It's going to be tough.
It is.
Raise money there to go buy some quarterback in the portal.
The problem is, and hopefully Tim Lester will prove us wrong over time. I don't know how much time he's going to have. I don't know how long Kirk Ferentz is the head coach of this program. But because it's going to take several years to rebuild that quarterback.
They've got to let Lester do it himself.
But whoever nobody has proven they've been able to do it. Even Brendan Sullivan, who again is a nice
but he was brought in as a competent backup who can be the starter next season. And I still think he's been much better than Cade McNamara.
Absolutely.
Even with the 3 turnovers.
But the recruiting, the development, all of it with quarterback has been a fucking dumpster fire for 5 years now.
Yeah. Ever since Nate Stanley.
So you hope that Tim Lester gets the opportunity to rebuild that quarterback room because it seems like he knows what he's doing now. Couldn't figure out this UCLA defense tonight. And again, they had injury problems, but even then, I mean, at some point, and I love Caleb Johnson. I absolutely love him. He's now Iowa's single season touchdown leader.
He didn't have much of a chance tonight.
He didn't, but fuck, man, if you're a Heisman candidate, you got to do something in a game like that. When the 4-string quarterback is in,
I get
you're
it.
down by a touchdown or you're tied. It's
but
at some point you need to
UCLA
be able to
knew that Iowa was not going to really put the ball up in the air, and they were and this was one of the best rush defenses in the country. They came in, they were only giving up about 100 yards a game. They were number 11 in the country in stopping the run. That's really the best thing that this UCLA team did.
And we had kind of like as Iowa media.
What are you doing? Popping pills over there? What the hell you got going on there?
Making another drink, baby.
Oh, okay.
As
I thought
Iowa
you had a
media,
bunch of ibuprofen or sleeping pills or something.
Yeah, well, we'll see. As Iowa media, we had kind of poo-pooed that UCLA run defense, and it was like, they're 11th, but
I did think that Caleb was still going to do his thing. I did. Did not happen. I should have never changed my preseason pick.
We were worried about this game all year.
Yeah.
We've had this circled, that trip out west. Now, the problem is that trip out west is going to happen every season now. And so you got to figure this out somehow. It's not some ghost in the stadium, even though that stadium's a goddamn house of horrors for this program. And, it didn't seem like this team came out sluggish or anything.
No, my
right?
God.
Like they came out
I
on
thought
fire.
this game
They
was
played
over.
great.
When he hit Gill on the 59-yard pass, it's 7-0.
Yeah.
You got it in the red zone.
Yep.
I'm thinking, okay, this is
feels
gonna
like
be a rout.
Garbers is going to keep throwing interceptions. You're going to just keep getting turnovers. And again, kind of like that Michigan State game, you get a couple of turnovers, that should be enough. It's just when you can't stop them on third down, you can't make tackles, you can't run the ball, you get dominated on both lines of scrimmage, it's going to turn out to be a bad night.
By the way, another large live audience, and we're nearing midnight in the central time zone, I can feel a lot of eyeballs from the Kansas City area. I've heard some birdies tonight. Some birdies telling me that
they should be focusing on themselves.
There were some game watch parties and a lot of UCLA fans in the Kansas City area tonight, which goes against what they should want. Iowa State
but
really would benefit from Iowa winning games.
Emotions, though, man. Every Iowa fan is going to be pulling for Kansas tomorrow afternoon. You know that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's the way it is.
I get it.
Especially now when there's nothing for us to fucking play for.
Well, you said it earlier, though, AD. There was nothing on the line anyway, other than just a win.
But it did feel differently.
And a feel good,
right?
You know?
It did feel good after that Northwestern and Wisconsin game.
It did.
And you're like, okay, Ferentz's teams sometimes hit their stride. Maybe this is one of those years where, it got away from them early, and you ultimately aren't going to be able to reach the things that you hoped you would reach. But you're going to feel good about this team. We're going to look back and say, that was a really good team.
It's the Jackson Stratton game. Look at this guy
right.
coming, the fifth-string quarterback coming in, leading us to a win at the Rose Bowl.
And now it's like, hopefully keep Nebraska out of a bowl game.
That's
on
what
Black
it is.
Friday.
I think it comes down to the Nebraska game. I don't think the Maryland game really matters that much.
Well, especially you're on the road, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I mean, my God.
And that's, like, honestly, I don't need to know anything about Maryland. I'm worried about Iowa in 2 weeks.
Just because it's on the road?
Yeah. And I don't know why. It doesn't make logical sense, but clearly this is a different team at home and on the road.
Piss pound Minnesota in the second half. And Minnesota has turned out to be, dare I say, maybe a better team than Iowa.
But God, Ferentz hates Fleck. There's something there, right? There's something there.
He does.
So maybe that'll carry us in the Nebraska game, because I know Kirk and that program like beating Nebraska.
AD, you've heard the last couple of two guys. Do you enjoy it when I sing the Freedom Tire song as a hymn?
You know what? Honestly, I almost texted you this yesterday morning as you did it. That shit gets stuck in my head all day. I grew up Catholic. I'm not Catholic anymore, but I grew up with it, and so it triggers a thing. It triggers a thing in my brain, right? Like it hits this spot that doesn't normally get hit anymore. Because I go to church, I'm not Catholic anymore, and so I don't hear those things. Freedom, freedom, freedom tire. Like it's
in the name of the
gets
Father,
stuck
the
in
Son,
my head,
and the Holy Spirit.
It's just it
Amen.
Eats its way into my brain when you do this, Chris. And I literally thought about texting you yesterday morning, like, stop doing this, because now all day that's going to be in my head.
I know my mom loves it. She grew up Catholic. My dad grew up Catholic. I grew up Catholic because of them. And I'm kind of like you. I'm not religious really at all anymore. Wife is Baptist, where the Baptists don't do that song. They don't do the Freedom Tire song at the Baptist church.
We go to I say I'm not religious, but I go to church. It's more of a community thing and a get out of bed on a Sunday thing than it is and honestly like an hour without the kids, which is great.
You don't take your because you take the kids to the.
They go to church.
Yes,
school.
That's what the Baptists do too.
So it's like I can sit there quietly for an hour with nobody bothering me. That's a big part of it, man. It's a big part of it. Plus, it gets you out of bed on a Sunday. The kids go somewhere else.
Kids. Okay.
The kids go somewhere else. And
why?
I just
do people
zone out.
Want to go to church?
Sometimes I'll listen to the sermon, but like honestly, a couple minutes into the sermon, if it's not speaking to me,
I'll tell you this.
I just zone out. Like Sunday morning, I'm going to be thinking about UCLA on fucking third down again.
The sermons at non-Catholic churches are much better.
Yeah,
the Catholic
they
Church.
Talk about real things.
I'm sorry that we're getting into religion, and hopefully
Priests
we won't
are
get
out
into
of touch,
politics.
man.
But
priests aren't normal people.
I always felt like I was just going through the motions at the Catholic Church, and when I went to the Baptist Church, I actually enjoyed. There was a message. Sometimes I didn't agree with it. Sometimes I thought it was a little overboard, but at least there was like a moment where there was a message. Here's my message.
Yeah.
Freedom Tire has locations in Des Moines, West Des Moines, Hickman and Urbandale, Altoona, and Ames. It is your home for new tires from every major brand, and they do vehicle maintenance and repairs. They do pretty much everything. Quentin Crowner, who's very active on Twitter X, very active. Tweets at me a lot, gives me a lot of shit, to be honest with you. He and all his Freedom Tire employees in Central Iowa deserve a big shout out, doing a great job. We've had several testimonials, testimonials like church, from people saying that they went in there for the first time to Freedom Tire and had a great experience. Visit freedomtire.com and find your nearest location, see everything that they have to offer. I feel bad. I'm living down here in South Florida. I know I'm experiencing the good life down here, living in a beautiful state. Got a great governor, but I don't get to experience all the things that you guys have to offer there in Des Moines, AD.
Yeah, we like Freedom Tire. We like Full Court Press and Fairway. Not a huge fan of the governor, but we'll leave that for another day.
I am just fucking around.
Yeah.
How do you want to leave this thing, AD? UCLA beats Iowa 20-17. It's a bye week now, and look, we already chalked this season up as disappointment. Even before this modest 2-game winning streak, it's just weird. It's weird.
It is.
Like they're putting
weird.
up 40 points a game at home. They're running over teams. They're looking like they can compete with Penn State,
right,
and Indiana, and then they go on the road and they get shit canned by Michigan State and UCLA.
It's really hard to understand, and I'm sure he's being asked about it. I'm sure they will be asked about it over these next couple of days. It'll be interesting. I'm assuming we'll get the coordinators this week like we normally do in a bye week, and so it'll be interesting to hear from Tim Lester again, and it'll be really interesting to hear from Phil Parker, who, it was funny, on the broadcast at one point they were like, oh, Phil Parker, he's going to have some X-rated language, and I was like, I don't think you understand, like, he could say fuck a bunch. That's still R-rated. What do you think he's going to say?
Yeah, what is he going to say?
X-rated.
We're going to stick our penises inside of them in the second half.
Right, exactly. And so it'll be interesting to hear from those guys. But, like, give us some insight as to why this is different at home than it is on the road. Because I don't understand it. It doesn't make logical sense. This is a different team at home than it is on the road. I'm far more worried about the Maryland game than I am the Nebraska game, and I think Nebraska's a better team than Maryland. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I do.
It doesn't matter. So, you're left speechless. It's so frustrating to watch these games slip through your fingers.
And the Caleb Johnson thing just kind of gets pulled out from underneath us because that's
the thing. Yeah, that sucks too. That was like maybe the one thing we were holding on to, right? Where it's
if
like,
he goes off for 200, then he starts getting talked about a lot.
And again, what he has now 20 rushing touchdowns, which ties Sean Green's rushing touchdown
and 21
record
overall
in touchdowns, history, 21 overall, which breaks,
I believe, is the record.
Breaks the record for any player single season. So good for him. 2 games left. He'll certainly crush that. It'll be interesting to see what these guys say about injuries. Hopefully you get Jay Higgins back. Hopefully you've got 3 quarterbacks to choose from come 2 weeks from now in Maryland. And Luke Lachey, did Lachey play tonight? I know he was suited up like he was going there.
Yeah, he was.
He certainly didn't have an
suited
impact
up. He
on
went
the
through
game.
warm-ups. He was
And
not on the injury report, but I didn't see him out there one time.
You would think in a game where you had not just Brendan Sullivan, but then Jackson Stratton at quarterback, you'd go to your All-American tight end more often. That's been a disappointing.
It's been one of the biggest mysteries
long.
Of this season.
It really has.
Is the lack of catches from Luke Lachey.
Yeah,
we
Shea
thought this
saying
was
he
going to be
played,
a breakout season.
Didn't have any impact on the game at all. So yeah, I guess again, you regroup now. You try to win these next 2 games. I thought Kirk Ferentz made a lot of sense after that Michigan State game where he's, it's just reality for them where we can bitch and moan and take things off the table and say the season's at a loss. That team doesn't have the luxury of doing anything but getting ready for the next game. They still have to play 2 more games and then a bowl game. And so we'll see how they react to this. It's just so disappointing to see a team this inconsistent because when they are hitting their stride, when they are playing well, when they're at home, it does feel like they can compete with some really good teams. It does feel like they're a legitimately good team. And then you go on the road and you not just look bad, you look terrible. You look like a team that could be beat by just about anybody at times. And it's just that's hard to cope with as a fan because you get your hopes up and then it just comes crashing down. And then you get your hopes up and it just comes crashing down. And so we're to the point where even if you blow out Maryland and Nebraska, you're going to go into that bowl game thinking, well, here we go again. Like, this could all fall apart again. And it's just, you start to think, hey, what is there to even look forward to here?
Makes you wonder how we thought that this team was a potential playoff team going into the season after the games we've seen from them on the road the last 3 games. Ohio State, Michigan State, and UCLA, all losses and all really frustrating games, especially UCLA and Michigan State when you feel like you're the better team.
Those are going to be the two. And, I mean, that Iowa State game is going to sting forever because, you had that game in the bag. You needed a first down to win that game. It always sucks to lose to your biggest rival. And I don't think this is going to turn out to be a playoff caliber Iowa State team. So it's not even like you can say, I mean, maybe you'll be able to say we lost to the best Iowa State team in history, but I don't think it's going to be a Big 12 champion, playoff team. And so you start to look back at this season, Ohio State's not even going to go undefeated, right? So it's like you didn't even lose to a great team. Now Ohio State's ranked second, and they're going to be in the playoff and all that kind of stuff. But these 2 games, this Michigan State and this UCLA game tonight, they felt so similar to each other, and it's just going to stick in the back of your head.
Instant Iowa, presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. Last night I had a great piece of meat. AD, are you familiar with the Delmonico?
No, I'm not.
It is a good...
Sounds like a Seinfeld reference.
Piece of meat. The Delmonico steak. Oh, God, it is...
What part of the cow is that, Chris?
We were doing some research because you'll see it at some nice restaurants. Some people argue that it is a more ribeye. Other people will argue it's more New York strip. But it's kind of in the middle of a ribeye New York strip. We went out to a place called Cut 432 for our 17th anniversary last night.
Hey, congratulations.
And,
you guys got married young.
I know. Fuck, I was 22. Yeah.
I just celebrated my 10th anniversary, and I'm older than you.
AD, I was married for 3 or 4 years before I even met you.
That was the wildest thing. When I first kind of hooked up with that group, it was like, hey, there's all these young guys, and they're, they all work late, and and you were all married. You, Dave Z, Andy, you guys were all married.
Oh my God, Dave Z. Oh, jeez. I'm gonna have to whisper this story to you. Hopefully he doesn't hear. Dave Z was so confident in Iowa that he bet a very large amount of money on Iowa minus 6.5.
Oh man!
But then, Iowa goes up 10-0.
Oh no!
He took Iowa minus 950 on the money line. That son of a bitch.
And you don't make a bet like that with $5, right? The only way you make money on a minus 950 bet is to bet the fucking house.
That poor son of a bitch. And he was calling me for advice in the second half, and I was like,
he's calling Phil Parker. Hey man,
I don't know what to do. I've been telling him for years, you don't make those bets.
Man, there were days
minus 950.
There were nights back in the day where between you and Dave and Joey the Worm, it'd be like we'd be playing, and Joe. Remember Joe? What's up with Joe?
Joe Augustine. He's up in the Twin Cities now.
We'd be playing.
That's former Des Moines local media royalty.
We'd be playing shuffleboard, and I wouldn't even have any money involved. And it'd be like my shuffleboard shot would have $500 writing on it. You guys would all be like, "You can't fuck this up," and I'm like,
There was one point I think Dave owed Joey the Worm $7,000 in shuffleboard, and that was a third of their salaries.
See, and that's why betting through a bookie is better, because you don't actually have to have that money up front.
I'll argue the other way, because they were just like, ha ha, fuck that. There's no way. Like, we make $19,000 a year. Let's just like, we'll roll that over into next year and see. No money ever changed hands. No money ever changed.
No, that was the good thing. It ended up just being anyway.
All right, we'll close this up by Nick saying that Patrick McCaffrey scored 20 points tonight for Butler in a loss to Austin P. LOL.
Thanks. Well, hey, they lost, huh?
They did.
I saw he hit like 3 of his
Is it
first 4
officially
threes.
basketball season now, AD, for the Iowa Hawkeye athletic program?
Oh, hell yeah. The problem is nobody shows up to the games, and we got the same issues as we've always had with Fran McCaffrey teams. They're fun to watch, man. They're high scoring. It's the opposite of football, right? In football, you hope to win a game 20-17. Defense is what it's all about. In basketball, you hope to win a game 100-99. And they're going to give up a lot of points. They're going to turn the ball over. They're going to live and die by the 3. If the Sanford brothers can carry this team the way the Murray brothers did a few years ago, they'll get to the tournament.
I think this is a tournament team. I do. I think they'll make it.
It fucking better be, Chris, because I've been Fran McCaffrey's biggest defender. This is a make or break season for him and this program.
Wow.
They don't get to the tournament this year.
A lot coming from you.
If they don't get to the tournament this year, it's time to move on.
All right, that's instant Iowa now transitioning to basketball season in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes lose to UCLA late night Friday night, 20-17.
Hey, now Saturday morning, both here and there.
Is it?
We have crossed over.
God, yeah, you're right. 12:06 Central Time. Looked like a lot of Iowa fans either made the trip or were already out there living in that area, had a good time getting ready for the game, not necessarily at the game. But
shout out to everybody watching this, man. This is a big crowd we have with us right now,
huge.
and that's awesome.
And even if you're an Iowa State fan, thanks for joining as well.
Yeah, for sure.
For Andrew Downs, I'm Chris Hassel. Instant Iowa, presented by Fairway from the Channel Seed Studios. We will see you in a couple of weeks.